Today we're covering a disturbing story that happened in November 2022. It's a story that touches on online safety and the importance of background checks for law enforcement. In Riverside, California, a 15-year-old girl was contacted online by someone pretending to be someone else, a process known as catfishing. While this is not the typical unsolved murder we normally present, we know who this killer is. I think it's important to shed light on this case. I have teenage grandchildren, and this could easily have been my family. This is the story of Mark, Sherry, and Brooke Winek. Mark Winek, age 69, was a beloved figure in the local school sports community and a longtime baseball and softball coach at Arlington High School. A devoted Notre Dame fan, Mark would help neighbors out, particularly the single mothers, by mowing their lawns. He had been married for over 40 years to Sherry Winek. She was 65. Their daughter, Brooke, 38 years old, was a single mother of two. The family lived together in a home on Price Court in Riverside, California. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, Brooke, along with her two teenage daughters and her boyfriend, celebrated the holiday at the Golden Corral. Afterward, they all headed back to the boyfriend's apartment in Moreno Valley where they would spend the night. The following day, Black Friday, the group planned to go shopping. After stopping at Starbucks, they ran back by the apartment where Brooke received a call from her mother, Sherry, who told her a detective was at the family home on Price Court, requesting to speak with Brooke's 15-year-old daughter, and they needed to come home immediately to answer some questions. Not knowing why a detective wanted to speak to her daughter and not wanting to alarm the girls, Brooke told them there was an issue with her cell phone and she needed to run back home. Brooke dropped her younger daughter at her sister's home along the way. Once Brooke and her older daughter got to the Price Court home, Brooke asked her daughter to stay in the car while she ran inside. The teen found it odd that she didn't see her mother's dog in the window, which was its usual place. When her mother didn't return within just a few minutes, Brooke entered the house. At 11:08 a.m., a call came into the Riverside Police Department about a young female looking distressed while getting into a red Kia Soul with a man. A witness stated that the teen obviously did not want to go with the man. She was barefoot, not properly dressed, and had a jacket thrown on. As officers responded, calls began to come in about a house fire in the same neighborhood. The Riverside Fire Department responded to the call at 11261 Price Court to find the windows of the two-story stucco home had all been opened, providing oxygen to the rapidly spreading fire. They were able to quickly extinguish the fire and found a very disturbing scene inside. 3 victims, soon identified as Mark, Sherry, and Brooke Winek, were found in the entryway. Sherry was closest to the front door, with Mark near the stairs and Brooke a little further away on the hardwood floor. Mark and Sherry had plastic bags tied over their heads. All 3 had their hands bound behind their backs with duct tape. Autopsies would later find that Brooke died from a wound to her spinal cord. Someone had cut her throat. Mark and Sherry had died from asphyxiation. Almost immediately, neighbors started coming forward with camera security footage showing a man arguing with a teen girl outside the home shortly before the fire broke out. Police would identify the man through his license plate as Austin Lee Edwards, a Washington County, Virginia sheriff's deputy. An all-points bulletin was issued for Edwards and his red Kia. After being contacted by the Riverside Police for more information on Edwards, the Washington County, Virginia Sheriff's Department made an emergency entry into his home in Saltville, Virginia, retrieving his uniform, body armor, duty belt, and other equipment that had been issued to him. They also retrieved the patrol car that had been assigned to him that was parked in the driveway. They notified the Riverside Police that Edwards' duty weapon was missing, and it was assumed he had it with him. While some have criticized this as a warrantless search, Virginia law does allow for emergency entry based on perceived imminent threat to life or public safety. A few hours later, the San Bernardino aviation deputies spotted the Kia in Kelso, California. A chase ensued with SWAT vehicles and helicopters. At approximately 4:24 p.m., the driver, who had been firing at the SWAT vehicle, lost control of the Kia, getting stuck on some rocks under a bridge. The teen was able to exit the vehicle and was rescued by police. While initial reports stated that the driver also exited the vehicle, shot at the police helicopter with deputies returning fire killing him, His autopsy would show he died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound from his duty weapon. The deceased driver was Austin Lee Edwards. Edwards, 28, was from North Chesterfield, Virginia. It was later found that he had posed as a 17-year-old boy and began a romantic relationship with the 15-year-old teen on Instagram in the summer of 2022. He showered her with jewelry, money, and gift cards. He paid for her Uber Eats and DoorDash deliveries and paid for gifts for her friends. At some point, Edwards asked the girl for nude photos of herself. She became uncomfortable with this and stopped communication with him right after Halloween. Police theorize this was when he decided to drive to California and abduct the girl and return with her to his home in Saltville, Virginia. Edwards had purchased the Saltville home on November 14th, 2 days before being hired by the Washington County Sheriff's Office, and had blacked out all the windows. As the investigation continued, it was soon discovered that Edwards had a history of mental instability that should have prevented him from becoming a police officer. In 2016, an incident occurred when Edwards cut himself and threatened to kill his father while at his father's home in Abington, Virginia, due to problems in his relationship with his girlfriend at the time. The incident occurred just a few hours after the 2016 Super Bowl, when Edwards' father awoke to the sound of noises coming from the bathroom. Forcing entry, he found his son with a severe self-inflicted cut on his left hand. When EMS arrived on scene, the senior Edwards was holding down his son, who had refused medical treatment and continued to try to escape his father. The senior Edwards had human bite marks on both arms. Police were called to assist, and the younger Edwards was handcuffed and placed on a stretcher to be taken to Johnson Memorial Hospital under an emergency custody order. He continued to state that he wanted to die and would kill himself and his father the moment he was out of handcuffs. The following day, Edwards was transported to Ridgeview Pavilion, a 28-bed adult behavioral health center in Bristol, Virginia, under a temporary detention order. The facility provides short-term treatment aimed at stabilization. While Edwards would later disclose on his application to become a Virginia State Trooper that he had voluntarily checked himself into a mental health facility, it would later be revealed that they were unaware of the exact circumstances of this committal. According to a Virginia State Police spokeswoman, Edwards would not have been hired if this information had been known. However, Edwards did disclose much of his personal history, including being involved in a crash, ticketed for following too closely, mistakenly eating marijuana brownies, and quitting his previous job at Walmart with no notice. On January 21, 2022, Edwards graduated from the Virginia State Police Academy and was assigned to Henrico County. 9 months later, in October 2022, he resigned from the Virginia State Police and became a Washington County Deputy Sheriff in mid-November. He was still employed as a Washington County Deputy Sheriff when he made his trip to California. Stating that our job is to never let this happen again, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin called for a full investigation by the State Inspector General's office. The investigation found that the state police had failed to check the correct database, which would have shown the mental health order. After continuing to maintain that the Virginia State Police saw no red flags in Edwards' background, on December 7, 2023, a spokeswoman stated that a recently completed full review found that human error had resulted in an incomplete database query during the hiring process. The state police have since changed their hiring and background investigation processes. The family filed a lawsuit in November 2023, stating the Washington County Sheriff's Office was negligent in hiring Edwards. The family also contends that had Edwards not had a badge, Mark and Sherry would never have allowed him into their home. The Virginia State Police is not named in the lawsuit. The teen victim is now living with foster parents. Her younger sister is living with an aunt. A GoFundMe account has raised over $100,000 and is dedicated to supporting the two girls. If you have already had a talk with your children or grandchildren about how to stay safe online, have it again. If you haven't, please use this case to start it now. Our prayers go out to the Winek family. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and may the truth reveal itself in the shadows.